Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. It's Rachel here. Today I just wanted to do like a little shop my stash. I want to play with makeup that I don't normally get the chance to play with our project pans and just stuff that's, that I love but that I'm not using regularly. So if you're interested in seeing what I use to create this look, then just keep on watching. Alright, so we're gonna get into it. So Charlotte, who is Vic's daughter, my niece, she's 2, she decided that she would, want to come hang out with me when I get ready, as she always does. So I let her choose a couple eyeshadow palettes for me. She picked out the Natasha Denona green brown palette and the Metropolis palette. So I'm gonna be using both of those today. I also decided to pull out my ColourPop Super Shock shadow in Like a Moss from the Robbie D. Christie collab, and this little Mayron Breeze Prisma paint palette, I guess. So we're just gonna play around with that. I tried to do some graphic liner. It's very difficult for me, so I had to like go back and forth. So we'll see if you guys can actually see that process, because it took me like a good 10 minutes to do the little line here. It's a whole thing. So first I'm going to start with my MAC Painterly paint pot. This is my project pan, but most of the things I'm using are not, for a reason. I wanted to, shop my stash. I want to play with things that I haven't been playing with recently, so that's what I decided to do, but I might as well just keep making progress on this eye primer. So I started out with the Metropolis palette, and ours is rearranged, so I don't know the exact shades anyway, but I'm going to use the deepest green, the cream to powder green, and then this like mossy kind of green right there first on my eyeball. So this is a Rephr number 14 brush. It's like a little baby blending brush, so I'm going to dip in between those to kind of get the color that I want, because I wanted it to be like not too bright green. I wanted like a little bit of moss in there. I don't know, I had like a vibe I was thinking of, and I'm basically just going to kind of like blend it into a wing. We'll just clean it up later with a wipe or my finger or whatever, so I'm not too worried about how messy it is, especially on the outer corner. Basically sketched out a wing like that, which is actually like real cute. I could do that like on its own when I fixed it up a little. And then I basically brought that wing inward a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot of it. I just want to create kind of a wingy shape since I want to do some graphic liner, and that's not something I'm all too familiar with doing. I've done it a handful of times, but... And then I'm just going to kind of swirl that brush off on my pants and go in with the lightest matte in there. It's just like a bronzy kind of cream shade. And I'm going to blend out the top portion of that. It's definitely a lot more like brown than it is like a cream shade, because Natasha's mattes are a little bit deceiving, but it kind of helps with like the mossy vibes that I'm going for. I am going to deepen up this outer part, but I'm going to wait on that now that I have a little bit of practice in what I'm doing. Green brown palette, I never touch this. Like, I literally never go into it, but it's so gorgeous. I can't bring myself to get rid of it, and the fact that it's, I don't know, $230. But I did get a lot of use out of this back in the day, and I'd like to start dipping back into it. I'm going to take this shade right here. It's like this like brown kind of green shifty kind of shade. I don't know, it's very, it's interesting. It's mostly brown, but there's also a heavy green shift in there too. It's very confusing. I'm gonna take this on a little Morphe. It's like, it was from the vegan collection like a million years ago. It's just a tiny little brush, and these are really creamy, so they pick up really easily on a brush. And I'm gonna kind of sketch out the shape that I want with that shimmer and place it all over my lid. This is basically like a deeper version of the Robbie D. Christie Super Shock that I'm using as well. I just use that to kind of liven everything up. That's basically what this is. Alright, now I'm going to go in with this BH Cosmetics pencil brush. It's from the Rose Gold collection, but it's worn off. I think it's the number 3. But I can't really see the lettering anymore. I'm going to go back in with that deepest cream to powder green from the Metropolis palette, not the mossy green, just that deep kind of like emeraldy kind of green. And I'm going to intensify the wing a little bit more. I'm going to bring that above as well, above that shimmer. This is not my best work, but it's a lot of fun to do. I like the way it turned out. It just a lot of work getting there because this is not something that I'm entirely comfortable with. And the only reason I'm bringing the green up is because when I go in to do that liner, I want to make sure it doesn't completely cover up the green. So I want to re-intensify it real quick. So I did that. Then I'm going to go back in with that rougher brush and a mix of that like mossy green and that tan shade we used to kind of blend that out as well. That going on, so we're going to try and do the liner. And you guys can see my kind of back and forth process with this. This is a little nail art brush from Amazon, Cut Creaser on like Instagram and Twitter and all of that. She's like a graphic liner fucking queen. I'm not, but she always says, she also has a By Mel Ops collection with brushes, so I would suggest that. But this is cheaper nail art brushes. And I don't have the other ones, but this, and then I'm gonna mix the bottom two shades, the bottom like lightest green shades from this little Mayron palette. And I'm just gonna take some water. This is the Vichy thermal water. I put it in Vic's stocking because I was just like, I must know. Why did we have water in a can? Anyway, I'm just gonna spray a little bit of that on the palette. And take my brush and just wiggle it on in there, in between the two shades. Basically what I did is I went above the kind of liner I have here, like right above this lower liner, and then under the upper liner. Does that make sense? And then I rounded it out. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna attempt to do it, and hopefully you can see any of this, but I did this on a mirror on my desk so I could have more hand control, but well, we'll see. I don't know how people do this so well. How they just like, woof. How? I can't even do that with a wing yet. I've been doing a wing for what, 5 years? Oh. Not quite the same shape, but we got the vibe there, so I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. They dry pretty quick, but I want to make sure I don't open my eyes and transfer that shit. With that green from the Metropolis palette, and I'm gonna go in with a Linda Hallberg angled brush and clean it up basically. Just try and make it less wobbly. Go over my boo-boos. And this is a cream to powder, so that could be part of the reason why it's easier to cover it, because it's real creamy, but I'm not entirely sure how accurate that is. I'm feeling relatively confident. Alright, so I'm gonna go back in with my liner. I'm not gonna re-wet it because it's starting to dry now, so it's nice and it's a lot thicker, which makes it easier to use, in my opinion, like a typical liquid liner rather than water. Because water is easier to, I don't know, get everywhere. I don't know. No! Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I feel like this eye is just a little bit brighter. Like this one's got a little bit more of the lime color in it, but that's what you get for mixing. It's fine. And then I'm gonna go in with the Super Shock from Robert Christie in the shade Like a Moss. And I'm gonna put that all over that Natasha shade we used. So I'm gonna use this to kind of clean up under that liner as well. I'm feeling like a pro right now. I don't know. Okay, so now we're gonna start on my base. I'm gonna start out with the e.l.f. Dewy Coconut Setting Mist. I just really like a mist on my face. Charlotte, you're going crazy, baby. I don't know. I don't think it does anything, but it feels nice. And then I'm gonna go in with the e.l.f. Luminous Putty Primer because I haven't used this in a minute. I mean, really just a few days. I use this quite a bit, but that's fine. Now I have a mirror, which is, you know, typically important in doing your face. Today we'll use this LA Girl Pro Conceal in Natural. It's for color corrector. I'll use this today instead of my Becca because we're shopping our stash. We're not project panning. This is actually a really good shade for me as concealer, period, which I wouldn't expect it to be. But every time I use this shade, I'm like, oh, that was perfect. Like it works so well. And for my concealer, I'll use my LC Complete Remedy Sleek Concealer. Slick Concealer, S-L-I-Q-U-E. This is in the shade medium. I could go a little bit lighter in this shade, but for a long time I really didn't like really any highlight on my under eyes. So, you know, oh god, that was a lot. This concealer is very full coverage, so I'll let that chill a minute while I get a sponge, because there's no way in hell I can blend that out with a brush. That was way too much. I pushed too much out of the tube. I'll use a dry sponge. People that pretend like dry sponges are evil are just dumb, because they actually work perfectly well. Not as good as a wet sponge, but they do the job. For concealer specifically. I don't really love them on foundation, but for concealer, a dry sponge, like it's kind of a vibe. And it'll soak up a little bit more product. Since I use too much, I am down for that. God damn, that looks good. God damn, that looks good. This is the Makeup Revolution Stick Foundation. This is an F4. This is Vic's shade, but I want to use it. So I'm going to use this right here. It'll work out in the end, don't worry. Well, I hope anyway. It's my goal. This is like a really good like medium coverage kind of stick foundation. I cannot find a shade in this line. They're all very, very red toned, and I'm very yellow toned with my self tanner, so it never works out. And this is the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream in medium 355W. Vic got me this for Christmas, and it is very dark. It is much darker than I need, and very full coverage. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of that, and hopefully I've got a nice little concoction going on. We'll find out, but that is so dark. That's not usable by me with that much coverage. All right, I'm gonna use my IT Cosmetics Love is the Foundation brush, and I just sprayed it down with that e.l.f. setting spray. I find this helps blend foundations a little bit better, and I'm going to mix those two, see what we get shade wise. Not afraid to mix and match. That's not too bad at all. That's almost perfect actually. Maybe a little light, but I don't really love foundation on the forehead, so I'm not sure why I use that much, but that's cool. I think with the non-highlighted under eye, this shade will work pretty well for me when I have bronzer on, so I think it looks pretty good. Add some plumping gloss on, because I can't do my makeup without a plumping gloss. It's the Ulta Plumped Up Pout. This one is a light pink shade, but I like the clear one too. This is the world's most intense plumping gloss, so if you don't like the burning feeling, run. I'll use my Huda Beauty Tantour today, because I don't use it. This is in the shade Fair. I'm just going to take a little bit, like with my finger, and dot it on. This has like so much kind of like coverage. It's scary, so be gentle with it. I'm gonna use that same foundation brush and blend that out. I could probably stand to use a little bit more, but I'm just trying to be careful. Because I've got foundation on this brush, it makes it a little bit less intense, but the first time I went in with this shit, I was like, whoa, people weren't kidding. And for my bronzer, I'm gonna use my Kaleidos Charisma Contour Palette. This is all matte, so it's not something I'm used to using. So I'm gonna use this a little bit more. I'm gonna use this big, like, fluffy Morphe Jaclyn Hill brush, because I think that that would diffuse it pretty well. I guess I don't have like one big orange line. I used to love this with MAC Give Me Sun. Like, this was my brush for Give Me Sun. So weird, I'm using like powders. I'm so used to using creams right now, like I just forget to use powder bronzer and stuff, so I'm just trying to be a little bit better, considering I've got a powder bronzer in my project pan too. Ugh. I think I'm gonna mix a couple blushes, but first I want to go in with my Fenty Cream blush in Fenty Glow from that little Fenty Glow set and use that because it's a nice toasty blush, and I think toasty blushes are just divine with green eye looks. I'm gonna be honest, this brush had a little bit of blush on it previously, so it may be changing the color a little bit. We have so many blushes, but I feel like we don't. I'm gonna go in with this Juicy Pang blusher. I don't know what shade it's in. It's in Japanese. It's a nice little peach blush, which is, we used to have a lot of peach blush, but now we don't. So this one's cute, and it's really sheer, so don't be fooled by the amount that I just put on. I think this would kind of spice up the look a little bit. I think it would work. But it's super sheer, so last time I used it, I built it like 4 or 5 different times because I like blush and blush likes me. But it's got a nice like glow to it. It's very pretty. Cool. Cute. Lastly, I'm going to do a little bit of highlight on my nose. I don't think I want it on the cheekbones. I don't really want it on my nose either. But again, we're shopping our stash. We're going to deal with the fact that I don't wear highlighter anymore. This is the Ritual Defeat, the Alchemist highlighter. This is like the coolest fucking thing ever. And it smells delightful. I don't know how to explain the smell. It smells kind of like a mix of Menards and like fruit. I don't know. Menards is my favorite smell, so. But this is like a Fenty Diamond Bomb on crack and in a cream form. Okay, I might put this on my cheekbones. It might be a vibe for today. I should add like a little bit on my cheekbones. Just a little bit. Oh, I like that for the face. Okay, we'll do the lower lash line and inner corner. For my lower lash line, I'm just going to go back in with the deepest green from the Metropolis palette as per usual and run that under. Now I knew exactly what color I was going to use for my inner corner the moment I picked out these palettes. It's going to be this one. This big sparkly green shade right here. Very, very pretty. Very intense. Yum. I'm going to use that on a Refer number 12 brush, which is like a chunky pencil brush. And I'm going to put that in my inner corner carefully because it's very glittery, so there's a lot of fallout, but yum. I almost used this on the lid, but I thought that was too predictable, so. Okay, well, I think that's all I'm going to do on camera. So I'm going to finish up the rest of this look, add some freckles, some lips, some mascara and or lashes, not entirely sure yet, and I will be back. Alright friends, here's my completed look. So I used Tati lashes and TL3. I know, shocker, lashes, but these lashes were literally made for me. They've always been my favorite lashes like in existence. And then for my lips, I use the NYX lip liner in Espresso and the e.l.f. Seriously Satin lipstick in Cream, and then I use the Maybelline Vivid Hot Lacquer in Tease. And that is all for today's look. So if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, comment down below whatever you feel like, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!